Welcome back to Living with a Classic. Once again, we're here with my long-term restoration project. This 1966 Jaguar S-Type, also known as a 3.4 or 3.8S. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen any previous videos on this car, I'll put a link to the playlist up above and down below so you can check that out. But basically just a really quick recap. This thing's been off the road since the early to mid 70s, but it's been sitting inside in a warehouse the whole time. So overall, it's in pretty good shape, but it's going to get a complete restoration anyways. It needs it. It has rust in certain places. We've gone through in previous videos. It's not really structural, it's not the floor, but it's part of the outer sill, part of wheel arches and things. So all of that's going to be taken care of. Get a new paint job. The interior is in really good shape though, so that's just going to be cleaned and fed and put back in. We'll get new carpets, but things like that. Going to go through the engine, but overall it is a good candidate for a restoration project. But in today's video I thought we'd talk about where to start with a restoration. It can be kind of daunting when you're facing a full restoration like this. Would be, where do you start, and also where do you start to keep the motivation going? And sort of what I want to talk about today, and also want to ask you guys, because I am restoring here on the channel for you guys to watch for your entertainment basically. I mean, of course, I'm also doing it for myself to get a nice car at the end of it, but a lot of it is because I want you guys to follow along. So I'm asking you guys, what do you want to see first? Where do you want me to start? Because I haven't really decided where I want to start, because basically everywhere you look on a car, you can start basically anywhere. So we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to empty out the boot of the car, so there's a bunch of stuff in there. See if we can organize that maybe a little bit with some spares. Some of the other spares I've already organized into boxes elsewhere, but I don't actually really know what's left in the boot. I so far only think two things are really missing from the car, and I'm on the hunt for those. So if you have an oil dipstick for a 3.8 liter Jaguar XK straight six, please let me know. And also there's a piece of chrome in the back I'm missing. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. So if you have any of those, please contact me. I would love to get a hold of those things. But let's have a quick walk around the car, empty out the boot, and then we'll kind of see where I should start this restoration project. There are still a few things I want to remove from the car before you could really, start with the bodywork, which is, the headlights, front bumper, and some of the chrome pieces, and the glass, wipers, things like this. So there is quite a bit of work to do just removing those things, but I haven't decided if I'm going to start with the bodywork first. That's why I'm keeping things sort of complete. We gutted the car before basically to make it as light as possible getting it down here, because it was uphill, and that proved to be a challenge anyways. But we still got it in here with the help from my very helpful and understanding wife. So the engine is out of it. We can have a look at that in a little bit. It's up in the main workshop. Doors are off, interior is off. I'll have that all in storage, so it's all being safe. And periodically I'm going to feed the leather with some, so rejuvenate it so it stays nice and soft. Because the interior is really the nicest part of this car. It has a beautiful red leather interior, which basically it's perfectly aged. There are no rips, no tears, nothing like that. All the color is still in there. It has the perfect age. So that is really what I like about the car. And here, we've gone through this before, but we're just talking about the rust out here. So realistically, it's probably outer sills, rear wheel arches, and up here as well. But doing body work is very time consuming, and it can be really, really quite boring. And you can sort of feel, I've heard from many restorations, people almost get a little bit depressed and don't want to continue working on it, because just cutting away rust, because that when you're going to cut this away, you're probably going to find rust behind that as well. And sometimes it can feel like a never-ending story. Thankfully, the inner sills are really good. Thankfully, the floor is really good in this car, so there's a good base to start with. I do, however, have a little bit of theory about restorations that, of course, you shouldn't do too much at once, but I think you can tackle maybe two projects at once. So choose one project that is maybe really boring or can be a little bit difficult. So for instance, let's say you want to fix this part of the rust here as your one project, and then maybe your other fun project could be I don't know, if you're doing interior work, maybe re-dye a seat or something like that, or feed the leather, or maybe replace suspension bushes, something that is not really that difficult, something that you maybe feel that you're better at, and that can give you some confidence moving forward, because you don't want to lose motivation on a project like this, especially if you're working alone and doing everything yourself. That is really the thing, because there are many people that start restoration projects and they don't finish them, which is understandable because it is always a much bigger job than you think it's going to be. Let's just quickly actually have a look at that piece of chrome missing. So if anyone has this piece of chrome here, that's supposed to go on that side. If anyone has that, please let me know, because that is really what I'm missing chrome-wise that I know from the car, going through all the parts, and then the dipstick from before. So let's open here, have a look. I've had everything out of here once when we picked up the car, and then when we moved, everything sort of went back in here. So I think I'm going to set up the camera. We'll take everything out. I'm going to lay it out on the bench and sort of see what we got. Well, we got the parking brake over there. And these are rear wheel arches, I think. Got some other things, some heater parts, some extra visors, because I think there are some in the car anyways. A couple of heater boxes. But yeah, let's just take all this out and see what we got. Now everything is removed, and the only thing left is the carpet in here, which will probably be it will definitely be replaced anyways. And you can see here, I've only had this open once. The spare is under here. A really nice spare and the original jack. And the great thing is, I'm not going to lift it up right here on camera, but you probably see there is not a speck of rust down here. It's all in really nice shape. So a lot of this car is in, I'll need two hands to get that down. Just a second. This thing, I think, oh, maybe it goes that way. Yeah, there we go. Or not really. I'll close that later off camera, but as you see, a lot of this car is very, very solid. And here is where the fuel pumps go. They are also in boxes up in storage, and yeah, I sit back here. Here are the lights for the tail lights back there. So all in all, the car is, as I'm aware, really, really complete. We're talking 99 something % complete. And like, if you have a look here, I mean, a tiny bit of surface rust there, but this is really not bad for such an old car. Let's go have a look at all the stuff on the bench that I removed. Over here, I'm going to go through all of this at a later time more in detail and sort it out and put it in boxes with labels on it so I know what I have and what I don't have. This box is basically a bunch of chrome, some of it in better condition than others. Like this one's not that good, but in here, for instance, is I'm not going to open it up, but it's a set of new old stock rear light cluster chrome, so they're in basically in perfect condition. I have a set of perfect glass for the car as well. Here is a better, that's probably not better, same as the other one on the car, rear number plate light, whatever you want to call it. So a couple spare chrome things in here, and fasteners and ignition locks, and you can see some spare fuel pumps down there. So I did get a ton of spares when I got this car. The previous owner has been restoring a lot of these. He is really famous, or quite famous here in Sweden, for his high quality restorations. He never got around to restoring this one, so when we got it, I got all the parts that he left over from all the restoration. So that's why it's pretty much complete. That's why we have a lot of transmission dipsticks here. This is a spare steering column. Some interior things. I'm not even sure what's in all of this. That looks to be some steering column things as well. We have a transmission mount down there, I can see. Linkage, I think, for the automatic transmissions. I think this whole box is transmission stuff, and then we have a pipe here for, I believe, for the carbs, most likely. And, well, found a spare heater matrix. I think the one in the car is out of the car, so this might be the one that sat in the car. Spare set of these in a different color. I think the ones in the car are more grayish. I removed the seatbelts from the car before. I have about 3 center consoles, I think, so that's good. All the sound deadening has probably been removed from the car. These are the liners, I think, for the side and the boot to cover up where the fuel pumps are. More carpeting. I have a spare one of these, which this one is complete, it looks like. Here's a fan for it. There's a heater matrix. Since this is a heater, so I guess we'll see which one is in better condition, this one or the one on the car. I probably have to pick parts from both of them. This is, I think, all stuff from the interior. Yeah, there's some extra wood. It's just extra interior stuff. Here is some of the metal I got with the car. So here is a rear wheel arch where he has used half of it. Here are some inner panels somewhere. I think that they might be rear inner arch panels. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look up in my service book. Here is a rear arch panel for the other side, and that's it. And I also have spare sills, what they're already in storage. So that's what's left in the boot. So really what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get some type of clear tote, sort of like this one, but with the lockable lid, so you can get somewhere, maybe at IKEA or somewhere, and just put everything in there and label it. So I'll do one with it will just be rear lights. Basically what's in here, label it rear lights for that. I'll have another one which will just be heater matrix, all the heater stuff in there, and try and keep it as organized as I can. I've set up some shelves in another part of the building for some storage. I just basically try and be organized. I also need to go through everything and see what I have and don't have. But from going through most of it and talking to the previous owner, what's this? Okay, I thought it was an S-type thing, but it's a Jaguar service place back in the day. There is a spare steering column lock. There's a lot of interesting goodies in here. Let me know in the comments down below if you actually want to see. It might be kind of boring to see organizing stuff on camera, but if you want to see it, please let me know in the comments down below. But now more on to where to start with a restoration. So I want you guys to sort of vote in the comments down below where you would like me to start. I'm not going to start right away. It'll probably be in, I think, in 1 or 2 months. I can start. This part of the workshop is unheated, and as you can see, a ton of snow outside, so I can only be here comfortably for maybe an hour at a time before I get too cold. So, but I mean, spring is coming, so as soon as it's a little bit warmer and get the sun in here on the afternoon, it will be more nice to work in here. So I have a couple of ideas. One of them is to, well, like I said, probably do a couple things at once, just so I can move between things. Would you guys like to see a restoration of a Jaguar IRS rear suspension? So removing the IRS, taking it out, getting all the grease off, stripping it down, seeing what it looks like, rebuilding the brakes, new brake parts, new bushings, all of that, painting it up, getting it looking nice. Is that something you would like to see early on in the restoration? Would you like to see a similar thing but with maybe the front suspension early on in the restoration? My idea is to keep the car off the suspension, so remove the front and rear suspension, maybe not at the same time. have some sort of dollies, or not really dollies, but maybe make sort of fake front and rear suspension that I can put on caster wheels so I can move everything around. So bolt it in place, basically where the suspension bolts in place, so I can still move the car around, or the shell, to then work on all the metal work. The car does not need to be flipped on the rotisserie because the floors and all that are good. So I think just getting it a little bit higher off the ground and I can move it around, I'll be able to cut out this rust and sort that out. Or is that something that you want to see early on the restoration, attacking the bodywork? It's going to be a lot of bodywork stuff, but is that something you want to see early? Or let's go up and have a look at the engine, which needs to be taken apart and evaluated and see if I can use it. Is that something you want to see early on the channel? And now we're up in the main workshop here over in my, calling it my messy corner. I really want to do something about this later. If we can get this shelf out of here and do something else over here, but I haven't really decided yet. So here the engine sits and it's just like I took it out. And that's sort of next thing. Would you guys like me to start in this end? Because this is also a big step of the restoration, going through the engine. It should be a low mileage unit. We had a look in the previous video under the cam cover and it looks fantastic inside. However, it does have a snapped spark plug. So in any case, the engine is going to be taken apart, inspected, hopefully it's fine, reassembled with probably like new bearings, new piston rings. Hopefully nothing has to be reground or anything like that, but of course if it has to, we will do that, and everything's going to be cleaned up, painted, and my aim is to get it to look as nice as the day it left the factory. However, there could be a major flaw with the engine that we don't know about, so that's also a thing I need to do pretty early in the restoration, because finding another one of these is not the easiest thing. Finding a 4.2 or something else is not that difficult, but finding a 3.8, a 60 3.8 is a little bit more difficult. They've gotten a little sought after just because well, they're in the E-Type and they're also in the sought after 3.8 liter Jaguar Mark II. So these engines are pretty sought after at the moment, and I've seen some prices for just blocks and stuff, and it's, in my opinion, it's sort of crazy. So we're going to be really careful at getting this thing apart and having a look at it, but hopefully it's in good shape. But let me know, is that something that you maybe want to see early in the restoration? I mean, it doesn't mean that it's going to get probably built together right away, because I have to assess if it needs a lot of parts. I need to save a little bit of money to get those parts, and then as soon as I can afford them, I will of course put it all back together. But I also don't want to build the engine like the first thing and then have it sit for maybe a couple of years before it's ready to go, maybe like a year or 2 years before it's ready to go into the car, because I don't think that's good for the engine with it being freshly built, or at least that's my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. So let me know in the comments down below if that's one of the early things you want to see on the restoration here. It's basically a strip down of this engine and inspection of it. That's it for this episode. I hope you guys liked the whole idea that I'm looking for your input, what you want to watch. Of course, it's still my restoration, but I am filming it and spending a lot of time. It takes a lot longer, to film it and edit and everything while you're restoring it. And I'm doing that because I want you guys to be able to watch it. You guys seem to really enjoy following along this process, even though it's going to take quite a long time. So that's why I want to ask you guys what you sort of want to see first. So please let me know in the comments down below if there are any of those things you want to see first, or maybe something else on the restoration that you'd like to see first. Of course, one of the first things probably going to happen is I'm going to, in my spare time when it gets a little bit warmer than right now because it's way too cold, so holding onto metal things, is to remove the headlights, the bumper and all those things, basically so they don't get damaged, and wrap them up in something soft and put them away in boxes. And that's pretty much it. Then the car is, of course there's all the trim and glass and stuff, so it all depends on which end I start this restoration. But let me know in the comments down below, and also let me know from your experience. If you restore a couple cars, let me know where you like to start. I personally am a big fan of starting with something that, like I said, that you feel that you're good at. So restoring a couple of those rear ends, so I feel like That's something I'm very familiar with, so maybe that's a nice way to start and get some, get some energy, get excited about, the first thing that you paint and the first thing that looks nice and shiny and clean. I think it's good to bring some energy into restoration that way, but at least that's just my idea. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Anyways, I'd like to take this time to thank the supporters of this channel on Patreon for their continued support. It's thanks to them that I can continue trying to make these videos now, 3 a week, which thanks a lot. Thank you so much for all that support. If you're interested in becoming a patron, getting some behind the scenes looks and sometimes early access to some videos, there is a link down in the description below if you feel like checking that out. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Anyways, until next time, I'm Adam, and this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.